Now, please, Central, to save our lives.
For the statistics, there were people. Before the gunshots, there were families. Before the mass graves, there were villages filled with laughter. And this is not a rumor. This is documented body count. According to the Inter-Society report from January 1st to August 10th, 2025, 7,087 Christians were killed and 7,800 were abducted. That is approximately 35 people killed every single day. These are not just numbers, these are massacres with names and dates. 56 people killed on Palm Sunday in ZK, in Boko's local government area, just 6 days earlier. In Benue, a week later. 200 in a single wave of attacks in June 2025. The world is finally using the G word, meaning genocide. And the pattern is horrific, systematic, and undeniable. But to label this only a religious war is to make a fatal error. It ignores the machine, a system of violence engineered over a century. This is fueled by climate collapse and financed by $1 billion resource war. The violence is real, but the reason is much deeper. The fuse was lit on January 1st, 1914. Lord Lugar's amalgamation was not just nation building. It was a measure of administrative ease and maximum resource extraction. Pre-colonial Nigeria had sophisticated system for land sharing, seasonal migration, and mediation. The British indirect rule system shattered this. It abolished indigenous balances and created power imbalance. This forced a rival ethnic system into a single, unworkable administration. The first catastrophic failure of this system was the Biafran War, which was from 1967 to 1970. This killed a lot of people, between 1 and 3 million people, mostly women, children. That war was never ended. Actually, it simply evolved. If you want to know much about this war, you can watch our previous video about Biafra, unforgettable war that Nigeria never healed from. The link will be definitely dropped below. The greatest environmental trigger is the ecological collapse of the Sahara. NASA data shows the Sahara has been advancing south for over 50 years. Lake Chad, which is a vital water source, has shrunk by over 90% since the 1960s. This environmental collapse forces millions of herders south into the communities already fighting for survival. A conflict becomes inevitable, not because of religions alone, but because the earth beneath their feet is vanishing. All of a sudden, the oil curse. Nigeria has earned over $1 trillion from oil since independence. Yet, poverty has skyrocketed. And why? Because the fight to control this central revenue has corrupted every institution. In such a system, control becomes the ultimate prize, and the violence becomes a political tool. The war on the surface is just the oil. Beneath Nigeria's soil lies gold, tin, lithium, and resources worth billions. And where the minerals are richest, then the violence is fiercest. This is not random. This is economic engineering through terror. Clear the villages, secure the land, and extract the wealth. The entire community vanishes, and months later, the fences rise. And this is not chaos, this is conquest. A nation where killers are never punished becomes a nation where killing is a strategy. Since 1999, politicians have harmed militias for elections. Community beat vigilantes to survive. And once violence is privatized, the state loses its authority and citizens lose their safety. Look at it. We said a nation where killers are never punished becomes a nation where killing is a strategy. Let's look at the case of Deborah Yakub that was lynched by a fellow student. Look at the case of Deaconess Eunice. Look at the case of Sunday that defended himself against such militias. In nearly 90,000 of these mass killings, there is zero conviction. Impunity is not an oversight. It is the oxygen that allows this violence to breathe and spread. I'll say it again. Impunity is not an oversight. It is the oxygen that allows this violence to breathe and spread. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom calls Nigeria's situation a systematic, ongoing, and egregious. The targeting involves Boko Haram, ISWAP, and the armed Fulani extremist groups that a lot of people call the Fulani terrorists is targeted, documented, and repeated. These names became the hashtag, but their deaths became warnings to the world. When the guilty walk free, the violence becomes a message, meaning some lives can be taken without consequence. Does this mean that some lives worth more than the others? The world called them clashes, a word that hides intent, masks victims, and equalizes the aggressor with the attacked. The oppressor and the oppressed are being equalized. Small Christian farming community are wiped out, and the land becomes available for industrial agriculture and mining. This conflict is local in blood, but global in profit. The attacks continues at the Christ Apostolic Church at Ekuru in Kwara State is violently interrupted by gunmen. Schoolgirls in Kebbi were kidnapped from their classrooms. The violence adapts, but the pattern of terror remains the same. Is it genocide? The world debates the label, but the documented killings, which are thousands every year, speaks for themselves. This is a targeted campaign, and it's happening in plain sight. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Nigeria is bleeding from 4 wounds at the same time. A climate crisis, a resource war, a political collapse, and the targeted killing of Christian community at a scale that shocks the conscience. Question remains why? Especially why does this happen in 2025? In the age of social media, a satellite, smartphones, and instant outrage. The answer is not a mystery, it is definitely a choice. We can deduce that it continues because the political will to stop it does not exist. For those who benefited, the chaos is not a failure, it is an asset. Chaos can definitely be managed, exploited, and used to consolidate power and wealth. In other words, we can say that order, true justice, and accountability will upset the balance. To honor the dead the 7,000 this year, the 500 in Makodi, the children taken from Kebbi. We must confront the whole machine, not just the easy part, but everything, all of it, because silence is complicity. If you enjoyed this episode, kindly touch the subscribe button, like, share. Let's propagate this to the world. Thank you for your time. See you another time.